be as much of an issue.
Well,
Like I should be able to go and what because I
right.
listened to some episode I was on recently that was like I was a couple of times just blowing it out.
Oh, for me, I need to get a new mic because I keep having mic crackle.
Ooh, that's not good.
Have
I
you?
I just have a cord that's not good, and I
Same
should
here.
just go get another goddamn cord. But
Same here. Have you noticed the mic crackle on my end?
nope,
Okay, then I'm the only one
not
that notices because no one else
not
seems to notice.
not recently. There's been a couple of times when it happened to you, and you're like but
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's
I
just
don't know.
it's more like a vinyl crackle than a big problem crackle. So I guess I just sound like I'm coming to you on from vinyl. That's cool.
Cool. You're expensive.
On the Discord, they just started the fan fiction thread, and there was nothing there yet. So of course I had to put something there, right?
Yeah.
That's a preamble because it turns out I have to log into Discord again. So
Uh,
okay, we're almost there. I'll read it for you and tell me what you think.
I was trying to get something. I was trying to get into Discord for another purpose, and I like couldn't get in for some reason. I don't know what the deal was, but
Yeah, the past two
um,
weeks it seems to
because
want
I
me to log in every time.
because I wanted to have Trombone Champ custom levels.
All
Have you
right.
played Trombone Champ yet?
I have no clue what that is yet.
It's a rhythm game where you're playing the trombone, so like no matter how well you do, it sounds like shit, and that's
Mm.
like basically just the joke.
Oh,
And there's
okay.
constantly pictures of baboons that show up, and someone's enabled custom songs, so you can get all this like anime theme songs and play along with them. And the trombone is like I don't know. Look up trombone champ videos; they're very funny.
Sure. Here, I'll read it for you. This
Hmm.
is my first Star Trek fan fiction.
Okay.
It was a dark and stormy night. On the deck of the Starcraft Enterprise, Captain James R. Kirk was shouting at his crew. None of you have been trying hard enough to direct the Prime General Order. Commander Spock responded, Dude, you can't always be like harshing the crew's mellow like that. Kirk delivered a haymaker that pummeled through the Vulcan's weak alien physique. Other commander Data observed, I don't know if this will be the right tack to motivate all of the crew. Esri Jadzia, Nurse Uhura, and all the other women on the deck began to cry.
That's pretty good. Give me just a second here. I got a text I
That's okay.
actually need to respond to.
That's
Sorry. I
fine.
was like,
Because I haven't actually brought up my notes either. Because well, my microphone is still a ice cube as well. That's kind of fun. What is 4 Celsius? That's like 36 or 7, 38, 38 Fahrenheit, maybe. Anyway, that was the temperature of my room before I turned the heater on.
Jesus.
That's
It's
normal, I
like,
think.
yeah, it's still like 75 degrees outside, even though there are tornadoes right now, but
Oh,
not
that's
here.
exciting. Well, that's
I
what
mean,
it'll
a
do, right?
tornado warning, not
Like
they haven't
currently,
cited one.
it's
Or
not like
watch, tornado
not
watch.
you're
Is that the
watching the
term?
tornado. If you get to
No, you're
watch them,
watching
sure.
for tornadoes.
Well, you're not watching for tornadoes. You're doing a podcast.
Yeah, and trying to get a job that I
I
will
don't.
have.
Right.
Wow.
Da-da, text me. Oh, please move away. I hope Zoom didn't update all weird. No, nothing seems weird to you so far. This
To
one's work.
me?
Oh, I'm just no, because it just redid itself. It remade itself in a new form.
Hmm. Well, that's
There, now
all
it's
like that looks
finally
like the thing
movable.
where you try to move a table in Word and it turns into like whatever.
Oh, you
Turns
but
into
this is a
whatever it
long.
is.
This is going to be a long prologue, so choose a voice you can sustain.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be that last thing. I thought about doing like a robot, but
But there's no robots in this episode.
yep.
Okay. Maybe they're all robots. That was the secret twist that they didn't reveal. They were robots all the whole time, except for Irby.
I mean, yeah. What if the last two characters? Well, let's just get into that in the when we talk about it, because there's
Except
not a whole lot to talk about. So we
I
should
don't,
just pat it as hard as we can.
I don't think we're actually going to talk about them being robots. Or maybe we will. I
No,
don't know.
no.
You bring
Oh
up.
God, I've frozen a weird face. What happened?
It's happy face.
I looked like fucking. Uh,
No, I don't think you
okay.
get to freeze again. You can't just make yourself freeze.
I don't know I don't know what happened, but I don't know. It was
Computers be computing.
mm. Yeah, I guess so.
I was slightly annoyed last night. My iPad hit the ground and slightly tweaked my iRig plug, and now I have to get a new iRig
Oh, damn, that sucks. That's probably like $50, right?
to get the iRig 2. It's like $70, but then it turned out
Uh,
which I did have, but it turned out the
yeah.
iRig 1 is like $5, and I don't remember it being particularly worse than iRig 2. In fact, it's smaller, so it's kind of better. So I
I
at least I fixed it for cheap, but now I have to wait a few days before I can play my electric guitars.
damn. I was
Well, I
I
could,
was trying to find my USB plug in case the power went out, and I
yeah.
couldn't find it. So I hope the power doesn't go out.
I mean, I could actually play through an amplifier too, but you know, with the
Mm.
when you go through iPad, you can play along with music, and that's how I record guitars. Not
Uh,
through my amplifiers these days.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I have amplifiers on the halls I haven't used. I need to sell most of them. To be
Well,
honest, it's
I
just
mean,
so
I
annoying.
mean, maybe like none of the iPad ones are like 100% of the way there, but they're good 95. And then just you flick your finger and you get a Tweed or a Marshall or a death metal amp, right? So
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't really play guitar a whole lot these days. I did buy a thing for a bass that I was randomly talking about how I wished my bass sounded I could have a bass tone like a certain band, and a friend of mine was like, "Well, there's this thing called a Sans amp, and Behringer makes a copy of it for $30." So I ordered one of those.
yeah. Apparently the Behringer stuff is like actually decent. Like if you wanted to get their synths, like apparently their synth, like you can get like the equivalent of a Moog for mini Moog for like $600 or.
Yeah, I have the Wasp. Remember when I sent you those tracks and it had the Wasp all over it, and it sounded like the
Oh, is that
gaping.
Behringer?
Yeah, the sounds like the gaping maw of hell.
Because I remember 10 years ago, Behringer was a byword for crap for sure. But
Well, there is like, I mean,
I'm
there
sure they're
is
not.
an issue with the synth that I bought that like it's a manufacturing defect that I could fix by soldering a resistor in place. It's not a major problem, but I don't,
Mhm.
if I'm gonna sell it, I probably would want to fix it first. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that is an issue, and there are issues with some of their stuff still, reliability issues. But
yeah, yeah.
and the thing I want most from them was announced like almost 2 years ago and hasn't come out yet,
What's that?
which is the Edge drum machine, which is the version of the Moog drummer from Another Mother, but with a MIDI on it,
Mm.
whereas the Moog doesn't have MIDI and it costs $400.
Oh yeah, that's nice. And then yeah, the Deep Mind looks pretty cool. I mean, that's
It's all right.
music.
It doesn't have I think it's like the second oscillator is like only square wave and you can't change it to saw, or so there's some limitation that really
Okay.
annoyed me about it. But they do have a poly, like a clone of the like something of a Pro 8.
Was it that one that Korg I had for a little while in the States? You know what I'm talking about?
Did you have the Poly 800?
I think so, yeah. Or a close cousin of it. I'm not sure if I had the Poly 800 or a
Oh,
close cousin.
this is like one of the Oberheims, so it's like it's like way a way more advanced thing than that, and they're gonna sell it for like $500 or $600, and it's an 8 voice, so that's like pretty exciting actually. But I don't need to buy any more shit.
No,
So
I
it's
don't
like that's
either.
the
I mean, I still have a functioning Juno 60, so that's pretty cool.
yeah. Oh, before I forget, I think we talked about this, but I have a friend that was interested in maybe being on the podcast. He's like a film industry guy.
I think
Somebody I've been friends with for like.
you've mentioned people that might want to do it before. But yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
I was
sure,
like,
just
yeah, I'll
put me in contact.
I'll put you guys in the chat together. I'm gonna see him this weekend, but
Okay.
like he was on some Simpsons podcast that excruciatingly dissects Simpsons episodes in like 2 hours, and was like he did pretty good for a 2 hour fucking podcast, which has no right to be 2 hours.
I've been listening to a podcast right now, which is about the music videos that were filmed at Universal Studios, Florida.
Wow, that's pretty
And
specific.
yeah, yeah, because well, you can see the park and stuff, right? So, but it's just kind of funny
Yeah.
because it's such a disparate field of shitty videos. The first one is the first one is the last man, the vintage synth all broken. Okay.
Hmm.
Sorry, I'm trying to look at the
What?
vintage this site and it's
Oh,
all broken. Anyway, the first video is from it's the guy that did the New Kids on the Block and singing the Backstreet Boys. It's the last group boy band he did where he tried to like give them instruments and stuff. And
oh.
so it's just like shitty boy band that never made it, right? So that's kind of fun.
Boys two instruments or something like that.
The second one is Creed's My Struggle, in which they're playing in the New York section, but they flooded it. So the drummer and the
Wait,
guitarist are playing like waist deep in water, and it's just like completely stupid.
so Creed made a song that was called Mein Kampf.
No, my oh yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just funny because
God.
he the singer Scott Stapp, he's in a rowboat, right? And he keeps like clenching his fists, and then when it's emotional, he'll let his fists go. So that's
Mm.
horrible. And then it's funny because whenever they cut to the drummer or the guitarist, the bass player had quit because I guess he realized he was in a shitty band.
God.
What's got the
I,
drummer? He's like, there's like water splashing around, and dude, yeah, it's just funny.
have you ridden the roller coaster there that plays music at you while you're riding it?
Isn't that kind of like the rock and roller and
Yeah, it's
roller
called the
coaster?
Rip Rockin' Rocket Coaster or something like that.
Rocket rods.
Rip Roarin' Rocket Coaster or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the last time I went to Universal was like 1995. Like Islands of Adventure wasn't open yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you haven't. I don't know. It was pretty cool. Like I looked up the thing on the internet where it had all the secret codes for all the songs, and was just like scrolling through it and like kept messing around. And I like just messed. I think I messed around and either I hit wrong buttons or I just decided I took too long, and then it just played "Sabotage" by the Beastie Boys. I was just like, all right. And I just pretended I was in one of the Star Trek movies.
Poly. Let me just type in Poly 800 and see if that does anything for me. Or vintage
I
synths
I think it's
page is
called, yeah.
super broken.
The Korg Poly 800 was like a very cheap. It's a very cheap synth that can be modded with a mod called the Moog Slayer, which is like gives it like a Moog filter, but it's like this thing where you have to put a compressor on it because the way it works is like if you fuck up and make the resonance too high, then it can like damage anything basically.
I think I there's a Poly 61, which might be the one I
Poly
had.
61 is worth a lot of money and be, uh would have been something to really hold on to. I don't remember you even having a Korg. I remember you having a Juno, I think, and the Akai that you just gave me.
Right. Sorry. Now that I've looked at it, it's not letting me see the freaking thing again. Their website is. I mean, I like Vintage Synth Explorer, so I don't want to rag on
Hmm.
them too hard. But yeah, this
Yeah.
sucks. Nah,
I've
I
never
think
had issues with them.
I know it's the first time I ever have. No, I think I maybe
Hmm.
had the Poly 800. Hold on, I'm having to
Wow,
look
there's
it
a
up.
Poly 61 here for six. Oh, yeah, no, $650, even though it's got a key that looks like someone took a bite out of it, but um
Except I feel
that's a
like
good
my
synth.
I feel like mine didn't have that raise thing that the Oh, that's a Poly 800.
The
That's why. Okay.
That's what I thought you were talking about. The
Oh yeah,
Poly 6 was like a much more famous synth, but it didn't have MIDI at all.
yeah. Right. Okay.
Uh and
But the
also the Poly 6, for what it's worth, looks cooler than the other ones. But
yeah.
oh god, I'm looking at one of those are like $2,000 now. Those are like way overpriced. Uh I
I
mean,
get
in
more of an
my
idea on
opinion.
this, but this website is really not working today.
So you're just not sure what you had?
Like when you go to the synths, it won't show you the list of manufacturers. I got it once, right? And now it's back to like not showing me anything.
I
So
mean,
you
you can just Google it.
I know I did the Google search too, and it's just like yeah, I see I'm trying to do it on the site. That's the problem. Okay, let's
Uh,
look at it. What was it, the Poly 6?
well, I don't know.
Or
I don't know what you had.
No, I just
Like,
want
what
to
do
see
you think you had?
pictures. It's one of those. It's one of that.
Difference is Poly 6
Oh hell no, I
is
didn't have
the
a Poly
6, the
6.
word 6.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know a Poly 6 now. Okay, yeah, I
Maybe it
didn't have
was a
that.
Poly 800 because you weren't like spending a ton of money, right? Like Poly 800s are even now like $300. Like they've never been very worth a lot of money. But the Poly 61 looks a lot like the Poly 800. Also has that like kind of
Yeah,
like specific font.
does I can't. I think it was probably the 800. Yeah, because I feel like it had some kind of limited programmability.
Yeah, I think it's all buttons.
And I think maybe the Pi 61 just looks so much like the Juno setup, right? That I'm like, did I have that?
Mhm.
But that's like, I mean, that
Well,
looks like their Juno, right?
the Poly 61 is feature wise more like a Juno.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think I had that. Okay, I must have had the 800. Or
But yeah, they look really similar. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I've never owned any of these, so I don't really completely have a grasp on what they do.
Mm. I that there must be something else though, because that doesn't quite look right either. I don't know. Anyway, I had something along those lines. That's why I wanted to use vintage synths, so I could just see all of them, you know. But vintage
Yeah,
synths
I mean the
letting
Poly
me down
800
today.
is not like I don't think that's one of the ones where it would inspire you to have more vintage synths. It's like kind of more of a budget pain in the ass. Like the first poly synth I ever got, there was that rack mount thing that I actually just got a programmer for it because someone listed it cheap. So
Well, it
now
did
I
not
have
in
reason to hang on to it, but the
it.
programmer and the synths together make it worth like a tremendous amount of money. So I need to get rid of it really.
Yeah, it did not inspire me. I didn't have it that long, you know.
Ah, I
uh,
thought maybe you'd had a Juno, but I think I'm thinking of somebody
I
else.
do have a Juno. It's in Japan.
Oh,
I
okay.
have a
Well
Juno
then
that, like I said, I have the functioning Juno 60.
you
That's
have the
awesome.
60? Okay, yeah.
Definitely didn't have the MS monologue mono track. That's newer stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I had the mini Korg, but now I don't. No, no, I had the micro Korg. Mm-mm. Poly
Yeah, that's
61,
right.
Poly 6. I wonder if it's one of these PSs. What do the PSs look like?
I don't know.
I
No
give up.
idea.
Oh
I
hell
think
no!
that's
That's
like a
that's a
organ.
no. That was a fully vintage synth. Okay, it wasn't that. So anyway, maybe it was 800 because this was like 15 years ago, or yeah, more. This was like I think
Like
the first time I came back from Japan.
I bet 15 years ago you could have just casually bought one for like $100 somewhere.
That's yeah. The I got my Juno 60 for I think $375. I mean, try doing
Yeah.
that now.
No, you can't.
I got the Minimoog Voyager for 1,500, which also sounds ridiculous now.
Yeah, I mean to be honest, yeah, I still can't really justify buying a monosynth for $1,500, but that would be a great deal if I could.
That one is justified.
Just from my personal point of view, where I do a lot of chord stuff. I don't
Okay,
think you
good
do
point.
as much. You don't do a whole lot of chord stuff. I like doing
Well, if I'll do chord stuff on the Juno because you can do chords, but but also you can split the well, you know that you played with
yeah,
my Moog. You can split the oscillators and like make a fake chord.
paraphonic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
paraphonic paraphony, paraphonic stuff makes it worth more than just a regular monosynth. But
Okay. So hopefully our Patreons enjoy synth gear talk because they just got 15
yeah,
minutes of it. Yeah.
suck it.
So I guess I'll give 5 minutes silence so I can actually find where this podcast start. 5 minutes, 5 seconds
5
silence.
seconds, please.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
5 minutes, and then I'll start.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we get into episodes of the Twilight Zone and beyond. This is Matt here, Mark Malek there.
Hi, I'm here from 100 years ago.
That would be nice. So you got flappers?
All over the place, baby.
Uh,
I'm flapping. My gums are flapping everywhere.
What year did The Great Gatsby take place?
I am the Great Gatsby.
So
I
what
went
year
into
did
a
you take
cave.
place? What year did you take
2020,
place?
1923.
Okay. You don't know that, do you?
1923.
I'm just wondering if
I
it's like
don't, but I
earlier or
can
later
look it up.
20s or yeah. Yeah,
If I
there's some.
was like really, really not much fun, then I would just, instead of lying about it, I would look it up.
Mm-mm-mm. Now I
But
am
you
just
know,
deathly curious.
1925, very close.
Very close. We should have waited 2 years to do this podcast, even though that doesn't really make sense because this episode
Dro-
is what 1961 to 2061.
Drop it back into the feed 2 years from now.
But it
I
has
hate it.
nothing to do with
I
this
hate when people do
episode.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Trivia, yo. Original air date was April 21st, 1961, and the script is a Serling one. Justice Addis directed, and his resume mostly consists of 3 Twilight Zones, along with a baker's dozen of Rawhide and the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea TV series. Simon Oakland played DeCruz. While he had quite a career in TV movies, if you wanted to impress someone, you'd cite his film roles in West Side Story, Psycho, The Sand Pebbles, and Bullet. You say that fast, right? You can't be like Bullet. It's Bullet.
Bullet. Have you ever played Enter the Gungeon?
The Gungeon?
The Gungeon, it's a dungeon full of guns. You can get a gun that shoots, that is the word gun, and when it shoots bullets, it goes bullet, bullet.
Oh, what is the one
It's
where all
very
the
funny.
weapons talk to you and make dirty jokes and stuff?
High on Life?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I
Haven't
was
played it
thinking of.
yet.
Okay. Where were we? Farwell was was Oscar Beregi. I didn't check his Beregi. Beregi, I guess. He
Hmm.
had small roles in films such as Judgment at Nuremberg, My Fair Lady, and Young Frankenstein, along with TV appearances in shows ranging from The Monkees and Green Acres to Mission Impossible and Batman. His main claim to fame probably is The Twilight Zone, though, and we'll see him again in Mute and Death's Head Revisited. I think he gets to be a Nazi in that one.
Good for him. He's
Lou,
almost a Nazi in this one, isn't he?
well, he's like a Operation Paperclip scientist, right?
Yep.
Kind of guy. Yeah. Because I
Those were
think even
Nazis.
yeah. Well, that's my point. Lou Gallo gets a few lines as Brooks, and John Mitchum gets even fewer as Irby. The latter does stand out a touch by being the younger brother of film legend Robert Mitchum. He put his name in Velvet Underground songs, but not John Mitchum. He didn't make it. Maybe on one of the Doug Yule albums.
He must have been in a glass box that got hit by a rock and then turned into a skeleton, so he didn't make it.
Yeah, that's how he passed away a few years ago, or whenever. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the Rip Van Winkle caper. Now, for me, I'm just like, if next time I visit America, I should get like a full-on Rip Van Winkle experience, right? It's been like what 12 years since I've been to the States.
100 years.
Well, if I can, yeah, okay, maybe I could weigh another 88. But how long was
I
it
don't
in Rip
know.
Van Winkle? Do you remember? I think it's longer than that.
It'll probably be like when I visited Miami in 2011 when I hadn't been since 1987, and I was trying to find where the hotel I stayed at as a kid was and could not find it, and
Yeah,
couldn't
that's not very
find.
likely.
The only thing I could find was like the little people mover downtown still was sort of in the same place
You know, on
because it's a train system and they don't really just move those. So,
no, yesterday on Japanese TV, there's like this 30-minute segment of this middle-aged to old dude who wanted to find like the place he was born in. So he's taking a film crew out into the forests. Spoiler: they don't find his birth home.
oh no.
It was like that Geraldo Rivera thing where he's going in Al Capone's vault or something.
I heard I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard it was something like no one can quite find where the original Evil Dead cabin is, and no one's sure if it was torn down or not.
Would exist in a slightly parallel dimension to ours.
I mean, it just got sucked through a portal and it went to 1855 or something. Or wait, no, that was like
2055. We'll put in the future.
they're 855, whatever, in Middle Ages.
Way in the past. Okay.
They never said that. They never said the year.
Right. Oh, you're thinking of the Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I guess they didn't say the year. Oh well.
They didn't have
Anyway,
calendars yet, so nobody knew what year it was.
is this caper properly Rip Van Winkle?
I would call this episode "I Shot an Arrow into the Future."
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, it is a little similar to that. But I guess before we get too deep, here is your prologue to prologue with.
Right. I
Nazi
only see.
scientist?
Oh, sorry. I was like, I only see half of it, but I had to move things around
Oh, okay.
manually. Introducing four experts in the questionable art of crime. Mr. Farwell, expert on noxious gases, former professor with a doctorate in both chemistry and physics. Mr. Irby, expert in mechanical engineering. Mr. Brooks, expert in the use of firearms and other weaponry. And Mr. DeCruz, expert in demolition and various forms of destruction. The time is now, and the place is a mountain cave in Death Valley, USA. In just a moment, these four men will utilize the services of a truck placed in Cosmo Line, loaded with a hot heist cooled off by a century of sleep, and then take a drive into the Twilight Zone.
It's kind of like you started off like on an almost McGruff the crime dog, and then you just kind of went into like a old newsy accent, and then you just talked in your own voice for a bit, and by the end you gotten back to doing just a touch of McGruff.
My immediate gut thought was I'm going to do Richard Nixon, but that just didn't work out.
Okay, I'm gonna go in and try my McGruff then. Introducing four experts in the questionable art of crime. Is that that's kind of,
Yeah, you should be McGruff.
there's a little Nixon in there too. I heard
I think
recently
McGruff
that
was Nixon.
yeah, I heard recently that the guy that voiced McGruff like insisted on doing it like into his 90s.
I think I heard that too.
That's pretty amazing. It's like no, he's got it, man. He will come and kill you if you get a scab.
They won't do it right.
Anyway, you just gotta that level of commitment because James Earl Jones, people want him to do Darth Vader in his 90s, but I'm not sure. I mean, it's great that the McGruff guy kept doing it that long, but I don't know if anyone was clamoring for it.
I don't know if you knew this, but James Earl Jones is not doing Darth Vader anymore. It's a computer.
Computer Vader. Okay.
Yeah, they just said they did the Roger Ebert thing where they sampled his voice and have a text to speech that just sounds a lot like him.
I mean, it's not like he really has a wide range of vocabulary.
I mean,
It's like say something ominous. Say something ominous.
fool, I put my sandwich in the refrigerator.
But Darth Vader wouldn't say that. He doesn't care about refrigerators
Exactly.
or sandwiches.
Exactly.
So you don't
I
have to have
immediately
those
just jumped
words.
over the line.
I was thinking
Don't touch my sandwich.
right. I guess
Didn't even sound like Darth Vader. I wasn't even trying.
and why would he doesn't how is he going to eat the sandwich?
Soon.
Does he
Soon
like
I will hit your dog with my car.
would he just stick it into like one of the pipes in his suit or something? I mean, he doesn't really have an accessible mouth to eat the sandwich.
I think he just eats like burned animals.
No, he eats baby food like RoboCop.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Badass robots.
Maybe they
have baby
just
food.
maybe they just shoot him with plasma and he just absorbs electricity for
Badass
sustenance.
cyborgs.
He
That's
just
cool.
charges his batteries.
Well, actually, that was you.
Sorry,
Well,
that was me.
well, actually, he's nourished by his Bacta tank at his lair.
Yeah, he eats Bacta.
Okay, there.
He sucks
solved
Bacta all day long.
I don't know if Bacta is Bacta right. I don't know. Anyway, this here they just have glass
Someone will
cases. They keep it
someone
very
will
simple.
tweet at you if Twitter still exists when you put this episode up.
Yeah. So these guys just have nice glass cases. They're just like museum pieces.
This starts out. I was so excited for this at the beginning. I thought until it just turned into a bunch of guys in the desert. I was very like, this is what I'm into. Is I love the tension of, but it was also just sort of great evidence that people who rob banks have poor impulse control because they're just like, I don't know, let's just go into the future. I don't know, sure.
Well,
There's no.
remember they
not
say
proven,
like,
I guess.
no, they say they're just going to trust Farwell's plan.
And
Right?
it's almost a miracle that only one of the four of them died, right?
Oh yeah, because
Like,
that is a rule of science fiction. If there is cryogenics, at least one of them does not make it.
yeah. That's true.
I mean, except for Buck Rogers.
But there was only one of them. So it's like if there's one of them, they'll make it.
No,
But if
in
there are
the
more than one, wait,
sorry,
are there more than
I'm talking about 30 serial because
Oh.
they are crashing their dirigible, and Buck Rogers lets the experimental gas go because they're like buried in the snow, and this will save time for them to save us, but it takes 500 years, and he's got his little buddy, and oh geez, I don't remember what his name is. All I can think of is Bucky, but that's probably wrong, or they just use that name in more than one franchise. I'm not sure. No Bucky's in here
Robin?
though. They all kind of suck it, right?
No. Yeah, they have a dumb plan. It's it kind of maybe snuffs out a little bit of the irony considering that they have a dumb plan and the guy who's smart enough to engineer a way to freeze them for 100 years was so dumb that he forgot his canteen.
Well, you might be a little woozy after sleeping for 100 years.
The other guy got his canteen, and then the guy who has the gold, Mr. DeCruz, is so dumb that he doesn't think that, that the guy will murder him. Pushes him far enough.
You should probably
Sorry.
say that one more time.
Uh, yes, he thinks DeCruz is stupid enough that he doesn't think that Farwell will murder him if he doesn't push him if he pushes him far enough. Which
Wait, it's a sweaty little fat man. Sweaty little, yeah, he's kind of short. Okay, sweaty little fat man. You know, he might have not felt. And remember, he was a scientist, and DeCruz was a thug. He was probably like, I can take care of this guy. He
there's
couldn't,
some
but he thought he might.
there's something about when you start murdering people and you just think that nobody's going to murder you that's like kind of inherently stupid.
I
I
should
think.
note. I think this episode generally is fun to watch, but yeah, there is a lot of things to kind of poke at it with. You know,
It's fun to watch, but yeah, it's just everyone. It's just basically the Darwin Awards being handed out the whole time.
you get
And then
a bar of
you get,
gold.
oh, it turns out that their gold was worthless, which I think most of us really strongly suspected the whole time that either the gold was going to be worthless or all the humans are gone or they were going to be like monsters or something.
Well, they do posit those things. They think of like, has there been a war? And oh, there's some jets there, so
Mhm.
we still have that. Obviously, someone's around, so they think about it
Monsters
a little
flying
bit.
jets.
They just don't think about the fact that their gold would be worthless and props from Forbidden Planet would be priceless.
Yeah. Yeah, I did really appreciate the cameo from I always do. The when the car showed up, I was just like, "Whoa, cool."
And that's one of the best future cars ever. Something that they did not do, which they really should have. I thought the future people, George and his wife at the end, should have had like gold grills on their teeth.
Yeah, that would have
And
been
on their car.
just like take I don't know, have like gold just stuck to their wheel of their car and it's like, this just what's all these bricks doing here?
They already modified the car a little bit. They should have just painted that gold, so you'd think that the car was made of gold.
Well, if they painted the car gold, would we have known?
When black, they could be like, let's get in.
Get into my gold car. This
Woman
car
I'm
is
married to.
gold.
Let's get back into our golden car that is gold.
Why is this car material and bricks here? I don't know.
We have
Like
someone handed.
aluminum.
If someone handed you a bar of chrome, you'd be like, whatever, take this bar of chrome. Save
You
me.
know, but it's like as usual, no matter how kind of I don't want to use the word trite, but however trite the whole thing unfolds, the message there is solid in that, gold is valuable because we decided it's valuable. It's like you could definitely replace that with diamonds
Yeah,
and
diamonds
have
is
a whole
valuable
other
because the
story.
Beers family decided it was valuable, right?
Yeah, because they decided that if they kill enough people in their minds, the diamonds. I saw a billboard recently that said we grow diamonds in a lab, and I have no idea what that's going to do.
That's probably just glue that's been hardened.
I don't know.
Hardened glue.
I don't know.
Fool's
I
diamonds.
I hope nobody ever expects me to get them a diamond.
That could be another fun ending where at the end, the future people have a scanner and they're like, that bar's just pyrite.
Yeah, of course.
That would have been a
Or like
cool ending too.
they're just like, what if they just took the gold bar and then just like took a bite out of it and was like, why are these snacks here? This guy was just gonna give me this snack. Like
Like
everyone
they
has metal teeth and they eat
that
gold.
exactly that's why they need to have gold grills. So okay, my main thing is George and his wife needed gold grills, and that's a problem.
True, they should have all had like the mouth from Jaws from Moonraker, and they should have all eaten the gold bars. That would have been a much better ending.
And I do like that the thugs are all like, once they're in 2061, they're in like hipster clothes, right? It's like
Yeah,
like
that
like
it
we were saying at the
worked.
beginning. I said you got flappers, right? It's like if you were dressing like in a zoot suit. That's
You could
pretty.
do that now. Yeah, I'm pretty
But you
sure that as time goes by, you will be able to wear more clothes, not less.
No, I'm just saying like you'd be like a full on hipster in your zoot suit now, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these guys would be kind of like that too.
Much like the guy in what was it last week? 200 yards over the rim.
100, but I think he went
100.
200. I think he
But
went 200 yards past that. Sure.
but he shows up in the top hat holding a rifle, and I'm just like, oh, that I've seen that guy at a bar. It's like he's missing the fancy mustache. But yeah, I've you know, it
He should have
works.
been wearing that hat in Spider-Man.
Wait, he was in Spider-Man?
That was Uncle Ben. I'm sure I said that last week, but
I didn't hear your episode yet because you haven't put it up yet, I don't think.
that's right. No, I was just wondering if you
I
recognized
watched I
Uncle
watched
Ben
the
there.
episode. No.
Okay, you have
There
to
have been
watch
so many.
again.
There have been like 15 Uncle Bens. I didn't
I
know it was
think
one of the
I
Uncle
think
Ben.
he's the most iconic Uncle Ben though, because he was in the Raimi one, right?
I mean, every Uncle Ben is alive for approximately 3 minutes in a Spider-Man movie. I think the newest one doesn't even have an Uncle Ben.
Right, right, yeah. He's just stuck on the rice box, I guess.
Yep. Stuck in the rice
Did
box.
they change that? Is
Verse.
that one of the things they changed? Because I know
Uh,
A lot of American foods have had to like, the Land O'Lakes got rid of its uh native person on it, right?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think, yeah, you may be right. They may not have a guy on it anymore.
I mean, from Japan, I don't know. I have a super offensive washcloth downstairs. In
Hmm.
Japan, it's not. Just in America, it is.
Japan, it's like anime Uncle Ben, like holding a giant sword.
Oh, I went to Hokkaido a few years ago, and we went to the soup curry place, and there was a
Hmm.
statue outside. I took a picture of it and decided I can't post this to Facebook.
Whoa. Oh no.
It basically looks like Sambo serving you curry,
Oh man.
and that was 2019 in Hokkaido, right? So they don't notice in Japan because they don't
That's
notice, right?
that's
They just
especially funny because like the lineage of how curry got to Japan has absolutely nothing to do with the US whatsoever.
Yeah, well, we went to a place. It was like yaki curry, like
Hmm.
something you'd never get in America. But then the place was like heavily American themed, like with James Dean and Marilyn Monroe posters and car stuff and license plates. And it's like you wouldn't eat this in America.
I think it's just like whatever the guy's into who owns the restaurant. I
My
mean,
daughter really liked it though. Well, no, I think they're like, oh, we're serving it like a skillet, right? So it feels like
yeah.
old westy, except we don't put curry in skillets. I think that would be like you'd have like grilled steak or something and
Yeah, I mean,
potatoes.
I feel like we didn't even get curry until we barely I don't know, the last 30 years or something. Like I don't think I didn't even eat Indian or Thai food until like the probably late 90s
Oh,
and in a big city.
an important thing from 1961 to 2061. They just parked their car outside. Google Earth is going to find that and fix it.
Yeah, nothing about that makes sense. Like if you're inside of a piece of land that doesn't get developed over 100 years, that's just maybe
Death
it's
Valley,
different in
that's
the
realistic.
desert. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm always just thinking like it would be much more likely to be like the time machine where a bunch of stuff happens all around you. But
Yeah, I guess I wonder what time of year they came out of their hobbit hole or whatever. I guess it's not really a hobbit hole, but because I think of Death Valley being like very pleasant, but that's
mm.
because I was there on like January 2nd.
Well, if their plan was smart, it probably was around then. So we could assume it was probably July.
Yeah, well, he does make he doesn't know exactly how long it's going to take or last. He does decide it's 2061 though, which seems kind of like, a weird.
And
Bit of
I,
math.
I I wasn't entirely clear on this, but didn't DeCruz just use the car kill to just murder Brooks and then throw it in a ditch for practically no reason?
Yeah, it seemed to
Like
happen
they had a
awfully
car.
fast. Yeah.
They had a car. I didn't even understand what exactly happened, but or why. It just was like DeCruz is just being evil.
Yeah. Here,
But
one
also,
place.
if they had the car, they would have gotten out of there okay. Like they would have been fine.
Well, I will say one place I came on too strong is that I wrote if you tried to spend 1920s cash now, it'd be awfully suspicious. Um,
Mhm.
of course, they had gold, which, well, it did date, but you could think that might not date as it hadn't dated in the past, millennium, right? But
Well, it didn't.
if they're driving into town in a 19, 60 Ford, that's going to be awfully suspicious as well. So there is a thought to they could probably get across the
Mm.
desert first and see what happens. I don't know. But driving that car on a public road would have been suspicious in 2061.
Well, knowing what we know now, most likely in 2061, gas-powered vehicles will not be legal.
Will they hopefully they someone filled up the tank, but with this crew maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just thinking in terms of what would make it suspicious. Like if we didn't if we didn't outlaw gas-powered vehicles, which I mean we still might, there might still be 1960s cars that exist in 2061, who knows?
Yeah,
Like there's
but
still some now.
I mean if you see one on the road now you're like, "Whoa, look at that," It like stands
Yeah.
out.
But when you see that, you're not like, whoa, look at that. I wonder if those people are criminals who robbed a bank 100 years ago. You're just like, oh, cool.
Okay, good
You know what I
point.
mean? I don't think people are like looking for them anymore, which makes their plan kind of more ridiculous.
Well, the first part of the plan, we're going to put everyone on the train to sleep. That worked perfectly, right? That's reasonable
Hmm.
in sci-fi land.
Yeah.
The next part of the plan should be let's screw off to Tahiti, probably, but that's not what they did.
Yeah, it's like almost any plan would have been better than let's suspend animation because again, 25% survival rate is not a they're not that's not great odds.
I
Like I
I think this episode could have been restructured, and this is probably a budget thing, but it's kind of like watching a heist flick where nobody plans the. You don't see them plan it, you don't see them do it, and now you're just in the aftermath, which is when the
also
complications happen in a heist film. But you kind of need those first parts to get there.
now
Like
I feel like I have to say I meant 75% survival rate, not 25%. 25% mortality rate.
oh, well, this was a
Someone's
one.
mad, and I just wanted to make them feel better by saying correcting
Okay,
myself.
this plan is a 100% death
Yeah,
rate. So
it did have a 100% mortality rate because they were allowed to be themselves. They did their thing. They're much better at robbing banks than they are at time
trains,
traveling.
trains, trains. They're robbing the train.
Trains? Did I not
Yeah,
say trains?
you said bank. Same
Okay.
idea. Again, we didn't see the heist, did
Right.
we?
Train. Yeah.
I mean, what if the
Not
first five
memorable.
minutes of this were planning, next 5 minutes were the heist, and then we get this convoluted weird plan, and the desert thing is just like kind of like a 3 minute twist at the end instead of like 15 minutes of the episode.
Well, there's this thing called we saved a bunch of money by not showing the bank, the train. I keep saying bank. Yeah, they saved a ton of money. It's like it would have cost less to do a bunch of sci-fi stuff than to do a train robbery.
Yeah, okay, or they could just rob a bank in this case, because you got
I
the
mean that
standing
too.
sets. I mean, it doesn't have to be a train; it could be a bank, and they just put everyone in the bank to sleep and get the gold, and things play out as is. But yeah,
There was just too this is one of those that just had too much in the middle, I think, and too much of it was I don't know. DeCruz kind of annoyed me because he was this version of representation where he was just a guy who talked like Mo Howard and sometimes inserted Spanish phrases. It's just like,
what
"Ay
if
Dios mío, hey you guys, let's get this." It's like that.
what if Ermy, what was his name?
Irby?
Irby. What I mean, he could be just some. He could be, Robert Mitchum's brother still or whatever. And then the
Okay.
other guys are played by the Three Stooges. You'd have Falwell would be Larry, like you said. The Cruz would be Mo, and um, Well, I guess the other guy would need to be Shemp because he gets killed really fast.
I
In
mean, I would love
1961, that
that.
would
I
have been
feel
Shemp
like
anyway. Or was it
that would
Curly
have
Joe
been
by then?
revolutionary, and it's like something that they would absolutely do now, but I've never heard of any like comedy team doing a thing like that. Like, is there any precedent for that? Was there ever like a thing where they just took I mean the best example I could think of was like the Harlem Globetrotters in Futurama, and I don't think that any of the I could be wrong, but I don't think any of the Harlem Globetrotters were doing their own voices. Those are
I
other guys, like voice
Oh, I
actors.
do remember that episode now that you bring it up, but I certainly don't remember who's doing the voices. Um, but yeah, when I'm thinking of this episode and like just plugging in, um, Larry, Moe, and somebody else, in 1961, you're definitely not getting
Curly
original
Joe.
Curly. You could get Curly. Yeah, I think Shemp was actually dead by this point, wasn't he?
I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you get Curly Joe and just hate yourself because you have to watch Curly Joe.
for like 2 minutes, he'd be the first. I'm putting I'm
Yeah,
putting
he's the first one out.
I'm putting him in the vehicular homicide role.
I
So
mean, that
just
would be incredible. That would make this episode like a complete classic if they just did that.
Oh, you were asking not a comedy team, but I guess Punch Drunk Love would be an example of plugging the comedy guy into a dramatic situation to weird effect.
Yeah, but that's modern, so I'm just talking about like
Well,
vintage,
even
similar vintage.
that's like 20 years ago now. It's not
Yeah,
quite modern.
modern.
Yeah.
We're dealing with 60 years ago right now. Yeah, if you'd forgotten.
And I think we said before, I think you mentioned I shot an arrow, right? And I believe
Yeah.
that the main guy in that was generally a comedic actor, which might be one of the reasons that episode worked better. Because,
Hmm.
comedy and menace are like pretty close cousins. So
Yeah,
that
for
guy was
sure.
more menacing than the Cruise.
The King Nine from Outer Space guy was. Wait, what? I just said a bunch of words together. King Nine will not return. That's I just
King
said a
Nine
bunch
for
of
outer
words.
space.
No. I'm sorry, I have brain fog. Yeah, King Nine will not return. A guy was a comedic actor, not one I knew, but he was one. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
So I mean, obviously that's not a comedy team. So and that
Yeah,
would have, but by 61, the Stooges would have been like TV at best, right? So
I don't even know. I don't
it
even
would have taken the paycheck. It would have been a late career
the Marx
highlight.
Brothers. Can you put the Marx
Uh,
Brothers in this?
is Chico dead yet? I mean, Groucho's still kicking, but he at this point yeah, I think they're a little older if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. So they might have actually been like too old to pull this off. Maybe the Stooges were too.
Hmm.
So I'm not
Well,
I'm not like really full on my Stooges history, I guess. If I
yeah,
wanted to just
DeCruz was this combination of just reminded me of Mo Howard and that whole thing where he's obviously like not a Latin person and also kind of just a he was a good bad guy. I definitely didn't
okay.
trust him ever.
So just so everyone knows, they were active until 1970. I'm looking at a
Hmm.
1959 picture. Curly Joe would have been the Stooge, and they would
Hmm.
have been, yeah, they're old, but they would have basically matched these guys' ages. So we need to travel 100 years back in time, using some kind of gas and do that retrofit for this episode, I think.
I bet it would be something like the Stooges would want too much money and then NBC wait,
Not 1960.
CBS.
Actually, you're right. Throughout the early 1960s, the Stooges were one of the most popular and highest paid live acts in America. So they weren't really doing so many movies, but they were, um, raking it in at theaters and summer festivals and stuff.
Well, there you go. I
Okay.
mean, you had Don Rickles a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay. We got to erase the Stooges. Yeah. There's a good example. Yeah. I mean, because he's definitely a comedian. I mean, he's what, Mr. Potato Head, is it?
I was really confused because I was trying to make the time work. Like, was Don Rickles this? Because he looked a little on the older side, and I was like, "Is this too old to be Don Rickles?" But I just
No,
forget. He just
he's
looked
one of
like an
those.
older guy.
Yeah, he's just one of those dudes that was born old.
Yeah,
So let's erase our comedians and just deal with the people we have in
Yeah,
this
just
episode. No, I just
the
when
the
I in my mind version of this episode, no changes except for changing actors. I'm like, now I really like this episode. So just maybe the
yeah.
casting wasn't sparkly
Yeah,
enough.
it wasn't um
Well, you'd have to put a
Farwell.
little bit of like, yeah, 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 no, eye pokes and stuff too. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, Farwell's accent wasn't. I assume that's not a real German person. His accent was a little half-hearted too. It felt like they were just trying to throw in stereotypes out there.
I thought he looked kind of like Q, John Delancey. What do you think?
Maybe.
Just a little bit. Okay, that's neither here nor there. But
The,
in this
the funny
episode,
thing is, I've seen a lot of pictures of John Delancey's father because I used to work in an oboe repair shop, and he was like one of the most important oboists in the world at the time in the 90s, and he
oh,
looked a lot like John Delancey Jr.
oh, okay,
They looked very, very similar.
that's a fun fact. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. I remember it's something at some point his oboe made its way into the shop and everyone was calling it Q.
Right. That's fun. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
um,
that's fine.
getting to the questions in this episode, who went through the Twilight Zone?
I'm gonna say the person who went through the Twilight Zone is Irby
Why? He's
because
he
he
doesn't even know what
died
happened.
while exactly. How weird is that? He might have died in like 2005.
He's dying right now. The rock just hit his
If you think
glass
about it,
case.
yeah. If you really think about it, do you ever think about how crazy it would be if you died in space and the afterlife reflected that somehow? Like if you're in like space heaven. So if there is an afterlife, then he
Space Hell's
died.
Event Horizon. Then
He died in a time that where he had absolutely no relation to anything. He had no idea what anything was like. He had would have nothing in common with anyone who died at the same time he did. So
he's
Irby.
he's entering heaven with Aaron Carter, and he's like, "What's up with this dude?"
Yeah, he would be so baffled by. Oh man,
So
he sees Queen Elizabeth and is like, "Well, Queen Elizabeth, weren't you a lot younger?"
just to throw it out, Aaron Carter, I just threw him out because he'd be going to heaven with someone with face tattoos. That was my main
Yeah, of
thought.
course.
So
I was like,
no statement
at
on
the
the
same time,
guy
I was like,
himself.
"Oh, that's sad."
Well, it's a little sad but I'm just saying like
Yeah,
the guy from 1961 is suddenly going into heaven with a dude with face tattoos would be a shocker, maybe.
or maybe with Gangsta Boo
Oh, see, I
from
was
Three
gonna
Six Mafia.
yeah, yeah, sure. I was gonna suggest that the first two guys didn't really know what was happening enough to be in the Twilight Zone. I think the Twilight Zone
Mm.
requires a bit of psychological torture, maybe, which Irby doesn't
Mhm.
get. Maybe on the other side, he gets.
Well,
I mean, that's maybe not psychological torture if it's unless he gets
no one.
hell, that would be torturous.
You could make the case that nobody goes to the Twilight Zone, or maybe the couple at the end goes to the Twilight Zone because the experience that everyone had post cryostasis is just the exact experience they could have had in 1961 in Death Valley.
Well, to Cruz, I think you could say like so the was he a professor? They called him Mister. Anyway, he knew some
He
science
was
stuff.
the expert in demolition and various forms of destruction. So he was just like a guy who blew things up. I have to keep saying demolition because that's what Rod Serling said.
Okay. Anyway, like he's just basically a demolition expert thug guy, right?
Yeah,
So
I think he just blows up the wall of the blows up the train. I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know how much they blew up on the train, but he must have done something.
yeah. Well, they blew the cave entrance, right? Is that what it was?
I think yeah, he was supposed to. There was some talk of him supposed to blow up all the vehicles, but I don't think he did because there was still a car there.
Anyway,
Like
Falwell knew what he was doing, so he knew what how
Farwell,
this.
not Jerry Falwell. It's
Did I say
Mr. Farwell. You said
Farwell?
Falwell.
Falwell. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but they're both cool guys, sure.
Jerry Falwell deserves to go into the Twilight Zone.
Yes, the bad version.
Yeah,
Farwell, he knew what he was
Farwell.
doing the whole time. He knew what results were likely to happen. So this is just him doing weird science. Where the crews did not know this was the plan until the cave entrance was blown. And he's like, okay, get in the case. So that is a
Well,
pretty Twilight Zone thing of being confronted by that kind of insanity and then having to deal with it. The fact that he's kind of a prick is neither here nor there, but just the situation of you're confronted with a sudden weird situation. I think I'd be willing to put him into the Twilight. Well, all three of those guys to an extent.
that's the most, yeah, that's probably the most logical answer because, but I would put forth that Farwell, at least a couple of times, seemed to not be sure that his own experiment worked because he was like, wait, no, actually, we shouldn't have beards. Like he
It's like,
sort of
oh,
went
it's
back and forth on it.
yeah, it's kind of,
He was
he's
trying to look for evidence, even though he was supposedly knew how any of it worked, which I think he stole this technology from someone else.
from the Buck Rogers uh, guy. Yeah.
He st- he stole it from the guys who made Primer. This is kind of like dumb Primer.
Dumb primer.
What if this episode was just called Dumb Primer?
And with the Three Stooges, yes.
It's Dumb Primer featuring the Three Stooges.
I'm telling you, this could have been one of the best episodes ever with a few tweaks.
There's still stuff to like about the framework, you know, like the car at the end was cool. The glass boxes looked cool. I think they look cool.
Oh, they were awesome. Yeah, but don't
Yeah.
make the top glass because obviously there's complications when you want to do it in a cave.
And there's something to be said about the exciting tension when you're watching people plan out some sci-fi thing and about to go into the space or go into the future. I'd never seen this episode before, so it was exciting to me at least.
But it was kind of fun with Farwell being, like you said, he's wishy-washy. He's like, oh, well, it's too bad Irby's dead, but that proves that this worked. Kind of,
Exactly.
70, like you said, 75% work.
He's a skeleton. See, everything's great.
So that was kind of fun. Maybe that's where DeCruz just snaps and starts offing his compadres.
DeCruz seemed like he was planning to murder everyone before they even went into the like when they showed that shot of the broken like glass. I almost thought that I was expecting DeCruz to break out of one of his like glass case and murder everyone.
His plan was to bugger off to Tahiti, which would make him the smart one.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was the smart one. He was just kind of not
well, he wasn't that smart
enough.
Yeah,
he should have just killed Farwell. That would have been the only smart thing. That's the only mistake he really made, but it was a fatal mistake.
Well, he was having so much fun with his little gold game, I guess. Also, come on, there's not that much water in a canteen.
Yeah, also with the amount of money they had, he could have just basically acted that way towards the help for the rest of his life. He got to where he was going, you know what I mean? It's like you have the rest of your life to be a jerk. And also it's kind of like Harwell is the only reason he even made it to the future. He should have been maybe a little bit nicer to him. Like it did kind of owe him.
And Farwell himself, he should have like maybe worked out a little bit, the couple weeks before the scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Like just get yourself in like a little better, get yourself in heist shape.
Because I can't even get past how dumb it was for not to bring a canteen or for them not to bring several canteens. It was Death Valley. Yeah. Death Valley, and did they think that
they would?
Yeah, did they think they were going to leave and there's just going to be like a city there in 2061? Maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, because he looks like he's just falling over like after an hour, which that's it didn't take because what are they like? It's going to take 4 hours to hike to a town, which I mean I don't know. Like I said, I was in Death Valley on January 2nd, so I didn't experience July, but yeah.
I'm
hey, do it at night.
The South.
Use nighttime.
Being in the South, like where it gets 90 degrees pretty frequently in the summer, I think I could make a 4-hour hike without being on death's door.
If they'd waited till night, they would have been too cold.
I guess.
Okay, wait.
It's just this is one of those where the plot required everyone to be super dumb for it to move forward to the logical conclusion where everyone's dead.
Yeah. So yes,
they
Farwell
decided
definitely stole the gas.
There was clearly a decision. The decision made was we don't want to have one of them find out their gold is useless and just go like, no, they just had to kill them off so that you the audience were fed the information, which was probably a good decision.
So yeah, I mean, again, it's a fun episode, but we're gonna call this a dumb episode, I guess.
Yeah, it's
but but
it's a dumb comedic episode.
yeah, it's a different dumb than Dingle, you know.
Yeah, different dumb than Dingle. Dumb primer.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. How about your tripometer on this one?
Oh, I'm going to give this a 2.2 because I feel like that was roughly the percentage of the episode that was trippy. Was like less than half.
Okay, my math works a little differently. I started out 3 because, like you said, the glass coffin things are so cool. But
Mm-hmm.
now that we've been chatting, just over the course of our chat and how dumb they are, it's dropped down to a 2. Glass coffins aren't good enough to And of course, again, not quality rating. There's the glass coffins is like the
Yeah,
only truly well that and the Forbidden Planet card, the only truly trippy things I think in this episode.
I think the middle of it would have probably been better if my anticipation wasn't built up so high by the beginning that I thought something trippy would have happened. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to replace that. I my anticipation was built up too high, basically.
Okay.
And that's why the Death Valley stuff was disappointing. If maybe it had just opened, maybe if it had just been that, well, I don't think that would have been a better episode, to be honest.
I will say
I don't think
in my mind, Three Stooges version of this, I like it a lot better, but that takes the tripometer down to 1 because now
yeah,
it's just a Three Stooges episode.
yeah, because the Three Stooges already basically
We know they're dumb.
much like the Marx Brothers. Well, they operate outside of time, if that makes any sense. The Three Stooges just show up wherever and whenever they're needed. I guess it's like Beavis and Butthead work the same way, kind of.
Yeah. It's well, I'd say Beavis and Butthead get a little trippier, especially with that recent movie.
Well, yeah, they made a concerted effort to put the effort they made to bring them into the modern era was itself very trippy and very funny. But you know that it's still that they still have always operated sort of in a like they show up wherever the story puts them.
That is true. But yeah, like I
Which,
love the Marx Brothers. Duck Soup is like easily in my top 5 movies ever. But
yeah.
nah, they're not trippy.
Well, I think Duck Soup is very trippy, but for other reasons.
Trippy.
It's not trippy in a way that the Twilight Zone is trippy. It's just sort of like they operate on a lot of
More of a or
cartoon
like
logic. Cartoon
just,
logic
yeah,
is the only way I can really put it. It's
yeah,
just basically.
I guess there is a fair amount to trippiness and following, Groucho's like, weird verbal ricochet thing.
Well, yeah, the physical stuff too. It's like how like when someone's just talking to one of them and they just put their leg in their hand or whatever and they're holding their leg. It's like that's the kind of thing that drugs will make you do. Like, whoa, man, why am I holding this guy's leg? It's like that though.
Okay, point taken.
So
that's fine because
I'm only talking you into moving the tripometer up for Marx Brothers movies and not this episode.
Right. Duck Soup, tripometer. Man, I can't go above a 1.5.
I'm
It's
safe
one of my
4.
favorite movies ever. Okay.
I think it's 4. I think it's
4.
higher than other Marx Brothers movies probably.
It is higher than other Marx Brothers movies. I mean, come on. Night at the Opera, that gets like a 0.5 on the tripometer, except for the stateroom scene, I guess. That's kind of weird. But
yeah,
that's
I'd
weird.
have to
That's
deduct. I deduct every like musical scene from the total points percentage.
Okay. So that's a great thing about the Twilight Zone. There's rarely a musical scene, so you rarely have to dock it for that.
Have there been any except for a passage for trumpet? Has that been the only like musical thing so far?
Well, I was thinking The Four of Us Are Dying have him going around that weird, like stylized city set for a while with Jerry Goldsmith's score. That's not really a musical scene, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking in terms of a scene where it's just full stop, someone is just performing or singing.
Now we got 3 more seasons, so
I'm sure it's coming, especially because I don't know. I think westerns are going to kind of go out of fashion, but musicals will stay, right? In the next
I
few years, 60s.
I guess that
Do
maybe.
westerns ever stop coming, or are they going to keep coming? I
Um,
don't know.
well, there's some big Western musical in the late '60s, and the name's escaping me at the
Blazing
moment.
Saddles.
No, no, no. That's this is like '68, and then they spent. It was one of those like CinemaScope. We're going to spend too much money on it, sort of thing.
Oklahoma.
No, that's not it. That's a little early. That's around this period, I think. So,
Mm. I
let's see.
loved Oklahoma when I was a kid. I was like, even though I only saw it like twice, but I absolutely loved it.
So that's okay. I don't think I'm gonna. It's just one of those things where I like can almost remember the name of the thing, but I can't. But yeah, I don't really have time to focus on that at the moment, do I? So
Yeah.
I guess I'll just do the plug
Anyway,
for this thing if we're finished. Anything else
Rip
you wanted
Van
to throw
Winkle
out?
plug. I'm gonna be asleep until when does this air? February.
Uh, you're making me grab papers again,
You don't
man.
have to do that. I don't have anything going on.
It's here. It's January 23rd. You only have to sleep for like
Wow.
just under 3 weeks, not 100
I
years.
wish I could sleep for 3 weeks, but
Mm-hmm.
when I wake up, you can find me not on the internet. I don't know.
He'll be
I
somewhere.
all that for nothing. I have nothing to plug right now.
This is Time Enough Podcast. It might be that on Twitter. It pretty sure it's that on Facebook. We do Patreon stuff at Podcastio Podcastis, where you can hear the uncut versions of these, where Mark's mic shorts out and we talk about synthesizers for 20 minutes at the Patreon Podcastio Podcastius. You can
I mean,
also
if you
hear,
think about it, mic shorting out is a synthesizer. Just
yeah,
plays one note.
this is a really crappy one. Yeah.
Yep, one note, mono note.
Other podcasts we do, Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary about sci-fi movies. Luke loves Pokemon. You can figure that one out yourself. Monster Mash, which talks about Monster Hunter, and the Game Show, a British style comedy panel thing with four guys yelling at each other. I kind of rephrased it today. I don't know if it's better or worse.
I feel like calling it them yelling at each other is a little bit of a misnomer because they're usually just very savage, but in a normal speaking voice.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, insulting each other. I'll work on my nomenclature there.
Yeah, insult is correct. I don't know about screaming or
Okay,
yelling.
Mark, if you look to your left, you will see a red knob with an arrow. The arrow should be on lock. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
pushed it.
Go ahead. In 10 seconds, hit the green button, but I'm not going to count the 10 seconds for you, even though you can hear me. And you can talk back to me because there's an echo in the cave, but you're not talking to me. You're just banging on the case. So
Just
don't
don't
tell
let
me.
a rock fall on me, please.
That should do it.
All right, cool.
That was my last point.
Sorry.
No, that's after the show. That's the post-show rave scene, man.
It's just annoying. That there.
I'll be able to spot the end of the episode really easily now because I assume it's just going to be a big brrrr on the sound file.
What? Like this is the worst thing of all, but I think it might have just been loose. Like I'm wiggling it now. It's not doing anything.
Well,
I just not have plugged it in enough.
I have my cord going into my sound card, and it's slightly propped up on my DVD player because if it's just left to dangle, it doesn't work.
Do you see this?
Yeah. Mm.
It's like a hybrid thing where you can plug in like a 1/4 inch into the middle of it. So maybe that makes it kind of loose and weird.
I'm still, well, I don't want to pull it up. I'm still using that art little tube, that art tube
ARP.
amp preamp.
Those things are great. I have
Yeah.
2 of them.
I do too, and both of them are completely caked with dust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used that when we recorded whatever the first when we do Independence Day. I used it for that.
Yeah. No, I use it for every podcast I do here. So it's just fine because I have the old one, and then what happened? I thought it was broken, but it actually does work. So I got a newer one, but the newer version doesn't sound as good as the old version.
I have 2 different ones, and one of them has something that the other one doesn't have. Like I think it has like a polarity reversal or
I
something like
think
that.
that's what the other one has, but I don't need that, and it
Uh,
somehow doesn't sound as good to me. So that's why I'm
God,
not too. That's why I'm not crying too many tears about the fact that I'm going back to iRig one, because I'm like, I think I actually liked iRig one better, and
well,
it's way cheaper now.
this thing is it just does all kinds of shit, and it's like sort of the industry standard vocal processor. It has has harmonics. Oh, do. You know, shit like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I don't, because I mean, I got like a reverb pedal. I'm not going to use it for podcasts, right? Wow, that's got lots of dust on it too. Designed in Denmark. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I every all of
Yeah.
my pedals are caked in dirt now because they just sit under here. I bought this because I didn't know what the fuck it would do.
Oh yeah, those are cool. I've seen one before.
You can tell I haven't used it in a while though, but I've used on some tracks. Maxon analog delay. That's a good one that I also haven't used much recently. But yeah, you know these. These are pretty standard for your non-tape analog
Yeah.
delay.
Here, hang on a second.
And somewhere there's a big muff still. I'm rapping, I'm rippity rapping, I'm rapping.
I think I was talking about this before, but like this distortion pedal that's like the size of a book.
Well, that's like I was just saying. I still have a big muff that's also that size, but it probably
this
does less.
this has like I think four separate analog circuits in it, and the only like really shitty thing about it has like program. I think yeah, you can switch programs with MIDI, and the only thing that really sucks about it is it has its own power supply. It doesn't take like regular pedal
I don't
power.
I don't think I've used the distortion pedals in forever.
I usually hate them, but I like this one.
Yeah, I've definitely, well, once I started using the Vox, it was just like, oh, just crank up the overdrive, right?
Yeah, I think the Vox and the Rat and some of the other ones are like better than the others. I don't know.
And I don't have a real Marshall amp, but that was the thing where I liked the garage band Marshall sort of amp. It pretty much does a Marshall, gain, and it's got the tweed, and I'm like, it's pretty close to the tweed I used to play through. So
Yeah, the thing is like now there'll always be something where it's like I see a really cool looking distortion pedal that has something neat on it, and I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. It'll be called something like fucking shit blender, and it'll have like shit all over it or something. I don't know. Just like, or there's one that has. Have you seen the one that has like Quato on it? It's got like the guy with Quato coming out of it, and Quato's eyes are glowing, and or just cool shit like that. And then I go to a demo of it, and it just sounds like every other goddamn distortion pedal. I'm like,
yeah, I'd say they
I don't
mostly sound like
care.
garbage. So,
Yeah, it's
but
like,
but when you think about even like someone like some of your '70s rock bands, they weren't using distortion pedals; they just turned up their gain.
yeah, I've always liked actual good amps. I like the amp distortion better than any pedal I've ever used.
Because when I
Period.
when I used when I used to gig, I don't know if you in particular, but people were always making fun of me for just using the amp distortion. It's like it's a fucking tube
Uh,
amp. Now I know that. At the time, just
don't take this
distortion.
the wrong way, but like a lot of the people we hung out with were like just really mean for no reason. I guess I shouldn't say don't take that the wrong way, but like don't put that on the Patreon feed. there's
Too bad it's
definitely
already
some
there.
like there's definitely some like
You're not naming
mean
names.
girls. There was some mean girls shit going on at all
Oh,
times.
oh, from the boys, you mean? Okay, girls were
Yeah.
not telling me about my
Oh,
distortion
girls
usually.
were telling you that? I don't
No,
know.
they were not. No,
No, I
no.
mean
I
like
mean,
it's a phrase that's like whatever high school meanness
I get what you're
about
saying, but
things.
well, I'm
I
just
was
saying like
definitely constantly shitting on Santiago's crate amp, which sounded like shit.
that did sound like shit. But yeah, that was the thing. We had the metalheads, and I show up with my fucking tweed tube amp. So which now I'm like, I showed up with like totally badass gear, a Fender Telecaster and a tweed 50, twin tweed amp. That's awesome. But everyone, it's like that's when you're supposed to have pointy guitars and crate amps, right? So
I don't think you were really supposed to do that. That just was what happened.
yeah. We just show up with whatever we could. Well, I showed up with my Tweed and Telecaster. Yeah.
Dude, I had that Sears guitar for a while. I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that we played on what we could play on, right? I mean, my first bass was absolute garbage.
Yeah.
It was like cheap BC Rich, and BC
Was
Rich
it
is
that
only
blue one?
yeah.
I mean, there were some aside from the dead spots, dead frets that sounded pretty good, I thought, but
Well, compared to the basses I have now, it's absolute garbage. It took a while for me to actually get a good bass because then when I was playing with Devin, we had that Epiphone Les Paul bass, which already always had like a fucking problem with the neck, I think.
mhm.
Um, and then I had that Music Man in the States for a little bit, which yeah, you didn't get that because I sold that one wasn't bad. That was good. It's a little rubbery,
Mhm.
like I like a thunk, and it was more like a groove thing. So it was good, but and I had the Aerodyne Fender Jazz bass. I think you saw that at least once in Japan.
I have I've had the Epiphone SG I bought from Marty for years, but also recently, and don't put this on the Patreon feed.
It's already there, man. I don't edit, so here I'll just hit
All
the
right.
record. Bye, everyone.
Bye.